Well, here we go. We start off the 2016 football season with the Kickoff Classic. Palm Harbor traveled to Mitchell High School yesterday for a battle of the counties, Pinellas County versus Pasco County, and it didn't fare so well from Palm Harbor. But as we try to express to the Mitchell fans and all the fans this week, the Kickoff Classics matter. They do not count towards the season. Usually coaches kind of play it safe. They don't open up the playbook too much on either side of the ball. Some players may be still nursing injuries, so they may sit out the Kickoff Classics, even though it's a chance for the players and the coaches to improve and see what they have. There's not a lot that's shown in the Kickoff Classics. Now, let's go back to Palm Harbor and Mitchell. The final score on the scoreboard is 51-11. At the end of the third quarter, it's 44-11. Palm Harbor up, and that's about time when the backups and the JV started getting into the game. So if you want a good estimate of what it was like when the varsity was playing, that's probably the score that you want to go by, and that's 44-11. Now, Mitchell ended up on a bad end of his stick. Not to make excuses for them, but it didn't look like they were trying to show too much offensively. Michael Hamilton, 1,000-yard rusher from last year for the Mustangs, he was not playing. He was out with a growing injury, and for a kid like that on a team like that with not a plethora of playmakers, him being the big-time playmaker is really going to affect the offensive game plan and what they can and what they will and what they won't show. They couldn't get to the edge versus Palm Harbor. Credit to Palm Harbor, they were flying around defensively. But Michael Hamilton, with his speed and quickness and toughness, definitely would have been able to negate some things that they were doing defensively. So they weren't able to get to the edge without Hamilton. The holes were closing up pretty quickly. Last year, Hamilton was hitting those holes pretty tough. So the offensive game plan without Michael Hamilton was pretty pedestrian. Now, they tried to run Larry Delabetta. He got smacked one time, and they said, hey, look, we're not going to risk injury in the Kickoff Classic. So they pulled back. He was running for his life for much of the first half. They couldn't necessarily find a rhythm offensively. They are replacing a lot on the offensive line. One big returner is Matthew Hegwood. And outside of him, they've got a lot of inexperience on offensive line. So there wasn't much gelling going on yet to be expected in the Kickoff Classic. Now, let's flip the script to Palm Harbor. Mitchell played them tough for the first quarter. But then once Palm Harbor started getting a rhythm and started understanding what Mitchell was doing to them defensively, they really started clicking. At one point, they had Mitchell just all off balance. They were hitting them inside and outside. It was screen left, screen right, short pass here, dink and dunk there. They were rolling the quarterback out, getting them moving, faking the inside run, pulling it out. There was a lot they were doing offensively within the concept to basically keep it basic, but still having Mitchell players scratching their head, not necessarily knowing where the ball was going to be. Reggie Truman, his offensive staff, did a really good job with the tempo. They ran a hurry-up, no-huddle offense, basically calling the players from the sideline, relaying it across to the offense who was on the field, and they were moving. The ball was getting snapped in like 10 to 15 seconds at the latest. Cameron Mouton did a really good job. These stats coming from Bob Putnam, Tampa Bay Times, who was at that game also. I pulled them from his article, Tampa Bay Times, so credit Bob Putnam. Cameron Mouton was 10 of 11 to start the game. Ended 14 of 19 with 272 yards and 4 TD passes. Another big playmaker that they had was Javon France, who was big time on offense and on defense. He had an interception to start the game. And then also, I believe in the same quarter, had a touchdown pass. The playmaker for what it seemed could have been a change of pace and a playmaker for Mitchell while Michael Hamilton was out was Adam Rogers. They brought in Adam Rogers to relieve the starting running back. So Adam Rogers, I guess you could say he was the backup running back. That night. And when he came in, He was kind of instant impact, picked up 9-10 yards on his first carry, 5 or 6 on his next, and then Palm Harbor started to neutralize Adam Rogers along with the rest of the Mitchell offense. Now, Larry DeLabetta did end the game pretty nicely with 194 yards. The second half, Mitchell really did get it going. They started throwing some short passes, letting the receivers catch and get some yak. Short passes, making it easy because the offensive line wasn't protecting, so the game plan was drastically different. The energy level was up. So they made it, not necessarily on the scoreboard, respectable, but they did show what they could do once everything started gelling. They get Michael Hamilton back, and that offense starts to get going around mid-season. Palm Harbor just looked twice as good. Defensively, they were fast. They tried to play some man-to-man. They played mostly zone. They had a good pass rush. They harassed the quarterback for Mitchell all night long. The defensive front was solid. The linebackers played pretty good. Secondary covered pretty well. And Mitchell did for at times. It wasn't great, but like I said, don't put too much stock into the kickoff classic. What you really want to get out of the kickoff classic, games that do not count on the team's record. You want to see how physical your team is. You want to see how hard your boys are going to hit. You want to see the energy level. Are they excited to play? And then you want to see you want to see how they pay attention to details and definitely minimize the mental mistakes and flags. So those are really big points that you really want to take off the kickoff classics, more so than the scoreboard. Were they disciplined? Did we as a team not have a bunch of penalties? Were we physical? Did we run around and fly around? Those are really what you want to take away when you follow up that film session the day after the game for that kickoff class, because that's going to tell you going into week 1, that is your only practice game going into week 1, where you stand. Because a lot of these teams are going to get that are in these difficult districts. After week 1 or 2, they're going to be right into district play. So that was a quick breakdown of how the Mitchell game went. Mitchell versus Palm Harbor, for those who were not there. Both teams should be solid this year. Mitchell, I believe, has River Ridge coming up, and then Palm Harbor will face Eastlake. So 2 good games coming. We got a lot of good players. Hamilton should be back for Mitchell. Expect Cameron Mouton to do exactly, hopefully he does what he did last night versus Mitchell when he plays Eastlake. A solid performance from him. As he completed his first 10 of 11 passes. So that's your breakdown. That was Mitchell versus Palm Harbor. Good luck to both teams. We're out.